Askreddit by Law of Darks 18. Overthinkers of Reddit. What unlikely scenario actually came true that you were completely prepared for because you are an overthinker? I always carry a small sewing kit whenever I go to a wedding. I have sewed 2 brides into their dresses so far. I worked weddings for a while, during an age 26-28 where lots of my friends were getting married. I've helped to bustle pretty much every bride whose wedding I attended, including brides who I didn't know well, who were either friends of my husband, or I was close friends with the groom. At work, I had one of those craft supply organizers full to the brim of emergency supplies, pin safety, bobby, and straight pins, hair ties, earring backs, a sewing kit, pain relievers, Tums, granola bars. Sometimes you just need to get the bride to eat something. Chalk works great for covering up minor stains on white dresses, hairspray, makeup remover wipes, super glue, band-aids, blister bandages, you name it. People were always pleasantly surprised when they needed something random and I was just like, yep, I've got that. Here you go. My boyfriend, who has zero history of seizures, narrowly escaped dying from one because my overthinking led me to break into his house when he didn't answer the phone. My overthinking had begun a few nights prior. He mentioned that he bit his tongue in his sleep and woke up with a bloody pillow and sore mouth, but he had no memory of it happening. That for some reason led my overthinking brain to question, wow, did he have a seizure and not realize that he has zero history of seizures? And we had been together multiple years, didn't live together but spent nights together, and I had never seen a hint of a seizure. But for some reason, this stuck in my mind. Fast forward 2 days. We usually don't hang out in the morning because he likes to sleep in late, but on this day we had an appointment to go see a specific dog at the shelter I was thinking of adopting. He wouldn't answer the phone that morning. I called multiple times before I went to his place, but he never picked up. I started getting a bad feeling but quelled that he's having a seizure thought, because that was clearly so unlikely, meanwhile making an action plan for that very scenario. I got to his house and he wouldn't answer, so in a completely not Emmy crazy girlfriend move, I climbed over his fence. Luckily his door was unlocked. I found him unconscious and unresponsive, lying in his back with the sticky remnants of foam all around his mouth. I jumped into action. I rolled him on his side to help curb aspiration, put a pillow under his shoulder to keep him in that position, and called the ambulance. Had I not hopped the fence to get in, had I not driven over when he didn't pick up the phone, had we not had plans to meet up hours earlier than we usually did, he would have been dead by lunch. His kidneys were already shutting down by the time he reached the ER. If he had never mentioned biting his tongue in his sleep, I don't think I would have been overthinking at all. No crazy worries about seizures would have pushed me to go over and find him. Turns out to be a weird brain disease that's bizarrely endemic to New Mexico, kind of cerebral cavernous malformations. Several days later, after we got home from the hospital, I got a call from a friend who said the dog, against all odds, was still at the shelter, as in the very dog we were supposed to be seeing that day. I had given up hope on getting her, pushed it out of my priorities while he was hospitalized, but they had forgotten to take down my 24-hour hold sign on her cage, so no one inquired about her. She's now our miracle dog and is the sweetest animal I've ever owned. My boyfriend wouldn't be alive today if we hadn't made an appointment to meet her. What an amazing story. You have great instincts and I'm so glad you followed them. Really just incredible. Dog tax. All the teachers at the middle school I taught at knew I was a pack rat, and one day a kid split his pants and the school counselor came to me and said, "Mr. Hog Dog, would you happen to have a pair of sweats or gym pants in your truck?" Yep. So the kid spent the rest of the day in a pair of nylon pants I had behind my seat. He is lucky because if he didn't fit he would have spent the rest of the day in a white disposable coverall I had in case I had car trouble in nice clothes. Icing on the cake, it was a student I really liked who was super helpful to other kids and teachers, so it was nice to do something nice for him. I also carried a Swiss Army brand soft side briefcase, yard sale find stuffed, and it had a few of each size of battery. One day Phil Necro and 2 Braves players were there for an assembly and Phil's mic battery was dying, so I sprinted upstairs to my classroom, grabbed a 9V from my bag, then basically rolled across the panel and switched out his battery and got back to the PA, avoiding getting on TV news cameras. Was at one of those trampoline parks with my kid when I look over and see several of the workers attending to an elderly lady sitting on the floor. Turns out she'd taken a shot to the forehead somehow and was bleeding profusely. They were trying to help with paper towels. Well, I'd taken a free local stop the bleed class just in case, and since have kept supplies in my truck. Asked if they needed some gauze and a bandage, went and got it, and brought it back. I told the guy, now if one piece of gauze fills up, he interrupted, take it off and put on a new one. I said, no. You put another one over top that one, but leave the bottom one there. He said, well, you know more than I do. Come over and help. We were able to get her patched up. And X200B. Edit. Thanks for all the karma. If anyone wants to take a 90-minute stop the bleed class, they're free and likely in your local area. Could save a life. Search for one here. Stay safe out there, guys. I didn't actually plan for this, it just worked out. But one day for some reason I put a suction cup in my pocket. I can't exactly remember why, it was from a shower hook that I think broke, and I put it in my pocket hoping to find a replacement or something. Later that day I was standing around with a few friends and one friend was lamenting that his bumper was dented. He showed us and said, I bet I could pop it right out if I had like a suction cup or something. I wordlessly pulled the suction cup out of my pocket and handed it to him. Everyone definitely thought I was creepy as hell. I remember one day in school a teacher was complaining someone had tied her blinds so tightly she couldn't get them to open or close. Me being the weird kid, I asked her if she wanted a screwdriver to get it undone. She looked at me like I was crazy and a little scared as I reached into my wallet and pulled out this tiny screwdriver from those tiny finger BMX skateboards and handed it over. Everyone thought I was crazy and my teacher laughed in relief when she saw it. Everyone thought I was weird until I told them I used it to tighten the screws on my glasses. They were constantly unscrewing themselves and I was sick of having to go to the opticians every time it happened. Obviously the solution was to carry a tiny screwdriver with me. Not me, but my mother. Apparently at a party where my parents and their friends were playing board games, there was a realization that an hourglass was missing from one of the games they planned on playing. My mother proceeded to reach into her purse and pull out an hourglass she just so happened to bring, on the off chance they didn't have one. However, later in the night when some drinks had been had, someone accidentally slammed a drink down, breaking my mother's hourglass. Without missing a beat, she reached into her purse and pulled out another hourglass. She knew the first one, being glass, might get broken, so she had a backup ready. Now this is dedication to game night, lol. When my son was still a baby, we had to take an 11-hour flight. As an overthinker, I brought at least 25 diapers for him to go through. He didn't need that many, but the mom sitting close to us was very grateful when she ran out of diapers not even halfway through the flight and I gave her a few. You are a savior. Me and my wife always have tons in our diaper bag. Our son is only a month old, but he's a monster and a change can sometimes involve 4-5 diapers. I found a nickel-sized lump on my 15-month-old daughter's temple, freaked out, obsessed over it, researched it exhaustively, and concluded it was a dermoid cyst that had worn through the skull. I was told by a pediatrician that it was a bone bruise that would fix itself over the course of 3 to 6 months. No imaging was needed, and I shouldn't make an appointment at the children's hospital because it would resolve on its own. I got an X-ray done anyway and the radiologist confirmed every one of my suspicions. But the pediatrician still said to wait and see because that's what you do with dermoid cysts, and it was definitely not through the skull despite what the radiologist said. Made an appointment at the hospital anyway, and the surgeon swore up and down that although it was a dermoid cyst as I'd suspected, it would not be through the skull since in all his years of practice it. Being a parent sounds so terrifying. Happy for your daughter, though nice work. One time, I overthought a concern I had around drive-end fire. When the time came that we had a clog, didn't know, and there was a wee burst of flames, I was fucking ready. Edit to at, I cleaned the lint trap religiously. I just had a gut feeling. I bought one of those things from Amazon to clean it and nothing came out, so don't let that fool you if your drying times are up and there's sometimes a smell. Call someone or check every possible location. We found basically Brillo pads of burnt hair inside the heating element. Stay safe, pals. Last edit. Thanks for the award, my first of this kind. You rock, Fuzzybum. Did you just sit next to it waiting for it to burn? I carry scissors in my glove compartment. They came in handy when a kid tightened a skinny zip tie around my 9-year-old's finger at a park. Completely cut off the circulation. Also, the other kid's mom was a nurse, so that was helpful too. Carry scissors and a nurse at all times. Ah crap, I forgot to pack my nurse. This was at 9 years old. We had driven home and seen the beginning wisps of smoke for the California Cedar fire in 2003. Naturally, I assumed the worst, and packed up all my clothes and spent about an hour making a travel cage for my guinea pigs. I tied their water bottle to the side so they could drink, packed up their food and their favorite furniture just in case. I then spent the next few hours monitoring the fire on the news and out in the distance from our window, periodically asking my parents if we needed to evacuate. At some point in the night the fire sped up like crazy and was literally on the hillside across the street. I went into my parents' room and said, the fire is across the street, are you sure we shouldn't evacuate? At this point we all went crazy grabbing important documents and supplies, and as we were about to lock the doors and drive I realized I forgot my guinea pigs. My parents told me it was too late and I didn't have time to grab them, but when I cried and explained I had them packed up, I was able to grab them and go. The house ended up okay thanks to a neighbor putting out embers before they took, but we were gone long enough my pigs wouldn't have made it. TLDR. Helped save my family and pets from a fire because I was an anxious child. Geez, you were a smart 9-year-old. When 9/11 happened, my brother, who was 5 at the time, began packing a bag in case we had to escape a terrorist attack. He packed the essentials like his teddy bears, a VHS copy of Phantom Menace, his favorite toy cars and a random book my dad was reading. He would have single-handedly saved Western civilization. Edit. Wow, thank you everyone. My first gold. PS, my brother is getting engaged soon and I think I'll tell this story at his wedding. I was supposed to get married at the end of May last year. At the beginning of the year, before any of the pandemic stuff happened, I became obsessed with thinking about all the things that could go wrong and how we would lose our money spent on the event. As a result, I purchased a very high coverage insurance policy for the event. As luck would have it, this type of insurance had no clause that prevented collecting if there was a pandemic. We got all of our money back. Edit. I'm also a germaphobe and so I had already stockpiled masks, gloves, Lysol wipes and hand sanitizer. As a should have been 2020 bride who opted out of wedding insurance because only an apocalypse would keep me from this wedding, I can say that was very smart of you. I bought and learned to use a Slim Jim open locked cars. I carry one in my car and have been able to help no less than 10 people who have locked their keys in their car. My brother was visiting me from out of town and he needs something from Target. He called me and said an elderly man had locked his keys in his car and I was able to drive over and help. Also have jumper cables that have helped start a few stranded drivers. That's really nice of you. I've never told anyone this, but when I was in middle school and going through puberty, I used to be terrified of getting a random boner and my fly being down accidentally. Like, I would be up in front of class and then randomly get an erection and it would just pop out of my fly, in front of the whole class lol. It's making me laugh just typing this out. You know that episode of South Park where Jimmy keeps getting random stiffies? That was basically my life. Usually I would just tuck it in my waistband and wait for the storm to settle, but I still had the huge fear of it popping out of my fly because I forgot to zip it up. So what did I do? I started wearing my boxers backwards so that even if I forgot to zip up my fly, my schlong wouldn't be exposed. It was a pain to use the urinals, but honestly I got used to it pretty quickly. Flash forward a couple months and I was at the movies with a big gathering of people. It was basically a big group of girls and my group of guy friends. Each guy and girl paired up and made sure to sit next to each other. I was paired with the girl I had a huge crush on. We shared a popcorn and soda and it was a huge moment for me. Briefly into the movie, I got one of those damn random boners and I quickly but discreetly stood up and did the all waistband tuck. When I sat back down, I could feel it pop out through my zipper. Thankfully, my backwards boxers kept it from saying hello to my date, but I still panicked and had to cover up in hurry. She noticed, but I think we can all agree that a 6th grade boy's erect penis hiding under a layer of underwear is better than just sprouting out bare in the middle of a crowded movie theater. Also, she never said anything to her friends about it. Shout out Stephanie for not mocking me with her friends. Boxer briefs are a good cure for this. Also, this totally happened to me in 9th grade at lunch. Zipper didn't work right and my shorts fly was down. And I was wearing particularly loose boxers that day. Was standing in lunch line and noticed my wiener was particularly breezy and looked down and there it was. Luckily I wasn't hard, but for a moment it was super awkward. I don't think anyone else noticed. It was at most like 5 seconds. Not me overthinking, but one time when my girlfriend and I were going to the gym, she packed me 2 spare shirts. I made a joke that it wasn't necessary to bring 2 as it's not like I was gonna explosively shit myself or something and ruin the spare shirt and need a second spare. We laughed it off but brought 2 anyway. After changing from my sweat-soaked shirt to a spare upon walking home, a bird shits all down me, ruining the shirt I was wearing. I was so thankful she had brought an additional spare, so I now do not question the quantity of what she decides to bring anywhere. Went through a stage as a teenager where I thought I was psychic. I know, stupid. A friend asked me jokingly to make a prediction. I told him to get a flashlight, because tomorrow would be dark. I grabbed one myself when I got home and put it in my purse. No idea why, just did it. The next day the Eastern Seaboard blackouts happened. He still asks for predictions to this day. Well, what's gonna happen tomorrow? In college, on occasion upperclassmen would randomly steal the underclassmen towels from the shower stalls and then lock their room doors, so they had to go to the raw bar acid. I had the idea to stash a towel in the drop ceiling tiles for just that event. Maybe a week later I became the victim of a towel snatching. However, the upperclassmen were very unhappy to see me strut out with a nice clean towel from my shilling stash. That sounds like less overthinking and more just being prepared for what you knew could realistically happen to you. I carry a fire extinguisher in my auto. I witnessed a car accident where the engine caught fire. I quickly put it out before it burned the inside of the car. Everyone survived. What's a car-safe fire extinguisher that can withstand being left inside in summer heat? I'm concerned the compressed gas propellant might burst. I always keep an open deck of cards in my backpack. You never can tell when some hold'em may be needed to pass the time. But when I was at a business conference, the bigwig who was presenting to us was having to wing it with a few things because his luggage had been lost, and he didn't have all of his materials.